Richard,
Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too.
It's been a few years.
It's been a long time. Gotta make my way down to UM again.
I imagine you come back to South Florida periodically.
Yeah, every now and again. Not as much as I'd like to. Um, and then, when I'm there, it's like, gotta hit all the people and my family and stuff. So usually a pretty packed schedule when I'm in Miami.
Of course, of course. So you graduated in 2019, right?
2019.
2019. So you were already pretty well settled in New York by the time the pandemic struck, right?
I would say I was just starting to really get settled because I had about 8 months to really, settle in there, find my own groove, find out, the parks and places that I like to go. And pretty much once I finished my first like work position, started this other one, and I was really excited. I felt like I really knew the city, like I was gonna, you know, start living New York, the way it was meant to. And then boom, COVID. Like it must have been the same week. So I was really starting to get into a groove, and then COVID came and changed my plans.
Yeah, tossed the whole world upside down.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, it's nice to see you in this format and to be able to have this conversation. I think back to many of the conversations you and I had over your time at UM and many of the things that you found yourself interested in. And I think your story is one that fits in well with a theme I often try to touch on with my current advisees, which is, you kind of have to be open to discovering a little bit about yourself. And I think, if I remember correctly, you came in with a particular vision of what you would do with yourself career-wise and education-wise, but that took a few turns, and you had a few sparks and things that caught your attention that you really became invested in. So anyway, I hope to explore that a little bit with you today for the benefit of our current students, and also a chance for others in the OAE community to connect with you a little bit. So let's kind of start at the beginning a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of, where you grew up and how you found yourself at the University of Miami.
Sure. So I was born in White Plains, New York, but pretty early we moved over to Miramar, Florida. So pretty much a South Florida boy at heart, and you know, found myself really interested in the world of, math, science, and engineering. And I ended up attending American Heritage High School, which was like a private high school. And that kind of really started to open my eyes, on the prospects of college a little bit more than, just, I'm going to go to college. Like, how am I going to make college what I want it to be? And so American Heritage had a few pre-professional was excited about the engineering program. I did all 4 years of engineering there, and it was really exciting. I felt like I, found what I was doing and all that stuff. So that being said, I really knew that I wanted to study engineering in college, and at the time it was mechanical engineering because I was really into. This is kind of weird, and I think about this a lot. I was really into the idea of factory automation. Just seeing all these things happen so fast, so precisely, was just really was interesting to me, and I found that mechanical engineering was kind of my way into that world. So that being said, when I started applying to schools, I sent out my applications, and UM really had a soft spot for me and my family. My brother was also a Hammond Scholar, so we already knew that UM, goes a long way for its students, and OAE and the Hammond program in particular. So it was a no-brainer for me to apply, to UM and furthermore to the Hammond Scholarship. And, things just worked out the way they should have, the way it was meant to be.
I was asking about your brother. What year did he graduate UM?
Year did he graduate? Oh man, I should know this off the top of my head, shouldn't I? I want to say 2012, class of 2012.
Okay, so you didn't overlap at all.
No.
Because you would have come in like 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why I didn't know your brother, but I do vaguely remember you telling me that he was a Hammond as well. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And he spoke really highly of it, so it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so that's a good kind of primer on your academic interests and how you ended up studying mechanical engineering at UM. Talk a little bit about maybe your outside the classroom experience at the U, including, well, I'll just let you answer that kind of open-ended. Go ahead, and what were you involved in on campus?
Yeah, so involvements on campus, I would say in my freshman year, I was, involved in everything that caught my interest. I signed up for classes. I took I was in the fencing club for a little bit. That was not not traditional. But as I went through my time, my main involvements, I would say one, I was the webmaster for WVUM on campus radio station. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But something else I was involved in, I was also in Pi Tau Sigma, which is the Mechanical Engineering Honor Society, and I was president of that, which was really cool. A lot like I don't think I knew what I was signing up for in being a club president at the time, but it was a really great experience, and I definitely learned a lot. I was also in a social fraternity, Alpha Sig, so kind of got a few different perspectives where radio station, honor society, fun society, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And somewhere along the way, and maybe this ties into what you were going to say about your experience at as a webmaster, but you got bit by the bug for programming, and I remember you talking to me about like academic needs, and you wanted to design an app, and you were kind of looking for a problem to solve, and like you had these creative juices flowing. So talk a little bit about how you discovered that interest and what you did with it while you were at UM.
Sure. So I would say the first exposure that I had to programming was in my, intro to engineering class. They have you do, one section of just like kind of mechanical, putting things together engineering, one section of programming, and I think the third section was like computer design. Can't remember that last one, but when we were doing programming, I thought to myself, like, oh man, I hope we get this over quickly because I'm not interested in this. That's, before we started learning it. And our professor had us put together something really simple, like, take in two numbers and add them. And I was like this is, of course it's going to tell me what it equals. But then, once you run the code and it asks you for what you want and then spits out the result and it all happens like in that instant, I was like taken aback, like, whoa, that was pretty cool. Like I told it what to do and it did exactly, what I wanted it to. And I wouldn't say that was like, me taking like a real interest in it, but being like, like I wouldn't say I was fully invested, but kind of curious, like, whoa, how far can this go? I just saw two numbers being added, but what are the limits of this kind of thing? So from there, I kind of, had this curiosity, and I thought to myself, let me take an intro class, see what it's all about. I took that through the engineering school because, I'm already in the mechanical engineering school. I figured, computer engineering shouldn't have much of a problem, and luckily, through the College of Engineering. They were like, yeah, you can take whatever minor classes you want. So took the first class, and at that point, we learned kind of the conceptual stuff that explained, what I found interesting in the first class. It was kind of explaining, if you don't know this stuff, then you type something into your computer, press enter, and things pop up on the screen. But this class kind of took us that extra step deeper to know, like, okay, what is the computer doing? What do these things mean? And from there, I would say, my interests in understanding how these things work, but still there's always, each class will tell you, this is how this works up until a certain point, where it like makes sense. Like the next set of understanding might take, a whole other class or something like that. So I always found myself completing these classes and being like, okay, well, I got to take the next one now because, I'm still interested and I still feel like there's, more for me to learn to be a good programmer. So, these classes were conceptual. They're about algorithms or data structures, like what is programming? And I found it all very cool. I found my homework to be something that I enjoyed, doing because I was practicing a skill that I was really interested in. So that being said, now I feel like I kind of understand programming. I have a really basic understanding of what my computer is doing, but that's enough for me to feel like, all right, I can do anything. So at that point, I started my own personal interest in app development. Kind of seemed just like, something to do that involves programming. I didn't really know too much about it, and I wanted to. So I, took a course, like one of those online courses, just to kind of, get taught how to do these things. And we made this really simple app that's like it calculates how much your coffee would cost with like different different toppings and syrups and stuff. But man, like putting all the stuff into the code and then seeing your app respond accordingly and like put in like work the logic that you want it to. I was like, man, apps really, hit a spot for me. Like seeing an app work and putting in the, time to make the logic correct really gave me a sense of satisfaction. So at that point, I was really hungry, to find something to do with this, I just finished the course. I was like, I have a new skill. I got to go do something with it. So, and I really have this habit of, feeling like when I have a skill, like I can do anything. And I think it's a good, attitude to have. So I spoke to one of my friends who put me in contact with someone who was looking to develop it, like have an app developed for them. And I was like, yeah, I can develop apps. Let's do it. And this was my first experience into, building an app that someone else wanted and kind of working with a partner. And I was like, it was a shock to me. There was a lot of things that I didn't know at the time. So I kind of told that project, hey, I'm not going to be able to do it right now because I need to, improve my skills. So from there, I kind of thought to myself, I need to get more practice. I did more learning, and I was at a WVUM. To focus on apps, but they had this web team, and I was like, this will be a good opportunity for me to, kind of see what is it like to have a website, what are these people interested in, things like that. So I signed up, joined the team, and then we found out like at the end of the semester that the person who was running the team was graduating, and they didn't have anyone to be the webmaster. And, I was really interested in technology, really interested in apps. I started learning about, like, this workflow agile methodology, which is like,
working in 2-week sprints and kind of doing work quickly. Um, I was learning about it, and I thought it was the coolest thing. It's very nerdy to, look at a workflow and be like, wow, that's awesome. But I really thought that. So I viewed this as an opportunity, to get some leadership experience, but also like start to practice some of the stuff that I'm really interested in, like, agile methodology to make, something tech-based. And the webmaster position at the time really was like, it's a Squarespace site, and I was on top of the responsibilities of like updating the website and things like that. But I took it one step further in trying to make it a tech team, really. It seemed like, there was an opportunity for WVOM to, branch out their technology. They didn't have an app that worked at the time. They didn't on iOS or Android. They had some problems that their DJs would mention, like, oh, hey, I don't have access to this information, or hey, how does this work? And what we realized is, hey, maybe these DJs need a website that, they can get easy access to their information. And really, this is just like us listening to the DJs. They told us that that's what they wanted. So, with all of that being said, I kind of took it as an opportunity to launch these like tech projects. So, end result is we created an app on Android. I was like the in charge of that one. I outsourced our iOS app to another guy that I know who was at also, studying computer engineering and stuff. So we had an Android and iOS app made, and then I had a team who was really interested in all of this tech stuff, like, working on a tech team. So I had them working on like a website for the DJs to use. And I think it was a really, really good experience for me because, on top of being a leader to, a group of people, like being a technical leader for people who like want to learn, it was, something that I wasn't like really expecting. I kind of expected, people would maybe come in with some previous experience, like if they wanted to join this, but I had a lot of people that were like, hey, I don't know anything, but I'm really interested, so how can we make this work? And so, I worked with them and got that tech experience, and I think the main thing is throughout all of that, I really felt like I was having fun the whole time. It felt like, yes, there was work to do, but we have, these cool things that are going to come out of it, and in it being, for the radio station, club, we kind of had our own timelines that we set for ourselves. So we, had the chance for people to, take their time, learn, see what they wanted, more specialty in, and then, they got their experience. And one of my really good members, he ended up getting a position with the business school on their tech team, and I was like, dude, like, look at you go, so that was a really, really cool experience, and, and just having fun in undertaking all of these projects, that's how I really, got to understand that software is something I enjoy doing.
Cool. Richard, before we go any further, I think maybe your headphones kicked back in.
1 second. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, that was it. Your headphones had turned on while you were speaking, and you were still audible, but you sounded much further away. Now you sound much clearer again. So, okay, cool. I think we're good. My next question for you was a little bit about, upon graduation, you wanted to work right away, and in my memory, you took the type of job that a lot of mechanical engineers aren't pursuing. So talk a little bit about that search process, the interview process, and then the hiring process.
Sure. So, where it all starts, the Topple Career Center. I definitely, once I was, really looking for internships and, starting to that professional search, I really wanted to make sure I was doing it right. So I did spend a good amount of time in the Topple Center getting my resume, critiqued, make sure that it, what I have on there accentuates my skills so that, the resume would be attractive. And like that being said, I had two resumes. I had one that was like a little bit more software focused and one that was a little bit more mechanical engineering focused. They weren't wildly different because, I didn't have years of experience in either, but you want to have like a focused resume. So at that point, that's kind of me knowing like I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to get into. Or I guess saying that, I'm really interested in software, I'm really interested in mechanical engineering, and I have the skills for both, in trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I wasn't sure. So I went to the career fair and talked to the different recruiters to really get a sense of like, okay, what is your company like? What does the day-to-day look like for, these different type of roles, but both mechanical and software roles. So I was getting, every recruiter is going to tell you that their company is the best. So I was hearing a lot of stuff and, it felt like I just wanted to really get my applications out there, or get my resumes out there is what I mean. When I hear back, pursue like the opportunities that are there. I guess that's the mentality that I was going into it with. And I stumbled across NBC Universal, and they were in a separate wing that I think was specifically like the tech wing. And I saw a lot of my computer engineering, classmates and people who I know are really, really good coders. And I remember thinking to myself, like, these guys, their resumes, like, they're all software, like, this is what they're looking for. So in a way, I was kind of, counting myself out. But I went up to the recruiter, I talked to them, and they said, hey, we have an interview slot tomorrow. We like you, so come by. So, I came by, and at the time, I was working on a personal project to basically send some QR codes. It was, nothing too crazy, but it was like an end-to-end system that I was working on. So I went over to the interview. It started with this, I don't know what kind of question it was. They were like, if there's a light bulb in the other room, or 3 light bulbs in the other room, and a switch in your room that controls one of the light bulbs, and it's on, and then you turn it off, how do you know which light bulb was controlled by that switch? And I was like, huh? Well, what is that question? So I was, a little bit taken aback, and then they ended up telling me it's something to do with like the warmth of the light bulb, and I was like, okay, well, you got any more questions for me? It's just like something silly, but I was a little taken aback there. We did the technical portion, where we just talked about conceptually like some fundamentals of programming, and then they asked, hey, do you have anything that anything else that we should know? And I was like, yeah, I actually have this demo that I wanted to show you guys. It felt like I had something that I had been working on, and I was like, please, somebody see it. So I showed it to them. They really liked it. And, a few days later, got a call from the recruiter for the media tech program that they had a position for me. So yeah, that's how I ended up with that role. And the process, I feel like it was a little bit a little bit less conventional, because it was a associate program. They had one interview, technical, one behavioral, like kind of on the same day. But to me, from my perspective as a student, that's exactly what I was looking for, and I'm glad that they were able to get it all done in one day, get back to me. It kind of simplified the process for me. Mm-hmm. That being said, I did, at that same job fair, put my resume in a few other buckets, and I did get some interviews there. And those ones were a little bit more traditional, like multiple rounds and stuff. But once I heard from NBC, it's like, Okay. You guys see, I'm sold, you know?
Mm. Nice. All right. So shout out to Topple and shout out to career fairs. We definitely encourage our students to participate.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your responsibilities at NBC and maybe how your career has evolved so far in the past couple of years.
Sure. So, like I mentioned, the program I joined is called the Media Tech program, and the way it works is you come in and you're assigned to an eight month rotation, and then after that 8 month rotation, you do another one, and then after that 8 month rotation, that second one, you do a third one, which ends up it's a 2 year program with 8 month rotations. So my first position was in the ad sales team. And I remember thinking to myself, because they were asking, what are your interests and where, so we can place you in the team that you want to be in. And I saw that the ads team was there, and I thought to myself, I don't know if I want to work on the ads team. People hate ads, and I don't know if I want to be involved in that. That's what I was thinking to myself, and I ended up getting paired with that team. And it was like I guess I'll join the ads team. And this is all before like having any perspective or experience into it. But then I joined, and I'll say I didn't know anything about ads. I didn't know anything about the business of ads. Like everything was so new to me. And I thought to myself, like, I know ads, like these people are heartless or whatever. That's, what you think. Anyone who has an ad blocker, that's what they think. But I kind of got to see like the mechanics of how we make these deals, how the ads get from place to place. And it's really eye-opening. And, for a media company like NBC, that's like really one of the main things that, goes on across like all the verticals. So the experience that I got in that rotation, I've pretty much used every single day since getting that experience. So I was working as a cloud engineer on that team, which was also really cool because I had just started getting into the cloud, and in my senior year, I had to fight with the business school a little bit to take this one business technology class that was like, cloud engineering fundamentals. And, after they gave me the runaround, I ended up being able to take the class, and pretty much a lot of the stuff that I learned in that class became directly applicable, to this first role, especially, since they had me coming in as a cloud engineer. It was like I went from working on it in the business lab to working on it, at my desk. Mm-hmm. So I would say I didn't know enough about cloud engineering, coming into it. And I was like really open with my boss. Like, I know these things, but some of the things that you're asking me, I would have to learn it. And what was really cool was that, you may be nervous to say something like that, but my boss was like, okay, like, let's get you the trainings you need. Let's, and it felt like they were really investing in me to like be a better engineer, which benefits them, but also benefits me as an engineer. So I got a ton of experience and in doing a bunch of different cloud things and a bunch of different trainings. And my project ended up being this microservice that's meant to manage our ad inventory, which is to say, like, we have a certain amount of spots to show ads, and if for whatever reason we're like lowering that amount of spots, we're making less money. So my tool is focused on, making sure that we have the maximum amount of like, ad inventory, which it's funny, like when we were working on the project, I didn't really know what all this stuff meant until I got to see the numbers and see how these things work. And, once we came out of that with a working POC that we were happy with, we applied for a patent, and the patent got issued few months ago, like in September of 2021, which is pretty cool. Really? And we submitted that at the end of 2019.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was the first one. Then I went into cyber. And it was really interesting to see, what the world of cyber is, how they operate, what they're concerned about, and, how ahead of things they need to be. I'll say that I don't think cyber was the fit for me. In the way that I was mentioning, I do find it, fun to work on programming and such, work on these projects. I felt like the day-to-day in cyber didn't really give me the same, sense of, fun and fulfillment. And I think it's important to, be honest with yourself about that kind of thing, because it was completely possible for me to, maybe do another rotation in cyber. They were asking me to do another rotation. They were like, it's here if you want it. And I was like, I'll let you know. But I, wasn't super interested in doing another rotation, especially because we had I had the option to, find the teams that I wanted to join. So when I was looking for my third rotation, I was talking to a few different people who were part of Media Tech at some point and were at different brands. And I found myself really interested with the CNBC mobile team, which is the team that makes the iOS and Android app for CNBC. And during my time as a Media Tech, I've always heard really awesome stuff about CNBC, their apps, and then even the engineers I was talking to were raving about their tech leads and their teams. It was I was like, wow, man, this sounds like the place I need to be in. So I had to jump through a few hoops, but I ended up talking to all the leads and asking them, can I join this team? It ended up working out. So then, kind of full circle at my third rotation, I joined the CNBC mobile Android team as an Android developer. So, at this point now, I'm kind of, again, full circle back where I was doing stuff that I find really, really fun. And, while it was really fun at this, it was fun, but now it's I'm not just an amateur developer making an app for a radio station that doesn't know anything about apps. I'm a software engineer making a professional app for people that know about these things. So while it was an opportunity for me to have fun, it was also an opportunity for me to strengthen my professionalism when it comes to this kind of programming work. There's the concept of clean code, having a good code review, writing tests, a lot of stuff that I didn't know about before. And I, really recognized that I wanted to improve in these things to be a better professional engineer. Yeah, so that being said, that was my last rotation with the Media Tech program. And as a roll-off, I ended up joining the CNBC Emerging Platforms team, which is a similar team to the mobile team, except this is for more the OTT applications, like your Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, Google Voice, Alexa, those kinds of technologies. And they brought me on as an Android developer. So I'm still currently doing Android. I'm still currently enjoying it. And, just to speak to the professionalism, this team, one of their big things is, code quality and just, professionalism. And we're always working towards improving it. So, every day that I'm working on this team, I feel myself becoming a better programmer slowly and slowly. Yeah. And then, so as far as responsibilities for this role, it's pretty cool because I kind of came in as a secondary engineer, because there was an incumbent engineer, or the engineer was already there who actually had been at NBC for 6 years, so someone the team knows, dependable, that kind of thing. So I kind of came in as a secondary engineer, but I mentioned to my boss, my goal really is to be, I want to be, the kind of dependable that you guys view this other guy as. I want to be the guy where if you need something on Android, you can come and ask me. So that being said, I would say, I spent the first 2 quarters I was working there, improving my skills, my literacy in the app and how we do things on that team. and my professionalism. And then I would say pretty much these days, I'm the go-to Android guy. You know, people come to me when they need things for Android. So I've assumed, you know, a lot more responsibility than I had when I was on the mobile team, because the mobile team just had me as, you know, a developer, and they had 5 different engineers, where on this team, we have basically 1 engineer per platform, besides on Android, where we have myself and then the other engineers. So I've been assuming, you know, more responsibility, you know, as the days go on. But I was a little nervous at first, but I find, like, you know, as the days go on, it, you know, becomes more and more normal, more and more comfortable, and yeah, it's
So
going well.
it sounds like you were not perfectly prepared for this position coming out of college, but you must have shown potential and sort of the fundamental capabilities. But you were also in a really good learning environment for your first couple of years.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really felt, you know, there's 2 parts, right? There's the, you know, the day-to-day working with your manager. I always felt like my managers really cared about investing in, like, in me,
Mm.
you know, like they could, you know, give the project to someone else that knows it, but they were like, hey, how about we get you the training that you need to do this stuff, and, you know, keep me posted on how that's going. So I really felt, you know, supported from
Yeah.
that end on the day-to-day. And on top of that, the media tech program also did a pretty good job of, like, offering the trainings and you know, workshops that would be helpful for us to succeed, you know, in this environment, especially as, like, young professionals,
Hmm.
you know, coming into the media industry, where, you know, a lot of people have been here for like 7, 10, 15 years. So, like, how do you as a young professional, like, talk to them and get your ideas across? How do you make sure you're using time most effectively? Like, things like that, that I would say are also instrumental in, like, you know, my success as a media tech. Really felt supported along the way.
Mm. Awesome. What do you think the next 5 or 10 years hold for you in terms of your career?
Um, you know, I feel, as a, you know, as a short-term goal, I feel like I'm improving every day, and I think, you know, I'm interested in climbing, they call it the IC ladder, individual contributor ladder. You know, I see myself developing my skills as an engineer, you know, to go from software engineer 1 to 2 to senior, you know, so on and so forth. I see myself, you know, really investing in myself in that way. And at the on the other end, I do find myself interested in, you know, side projects and just things to, you know, you know, explore technically. And if they turn into something, they turn into something. But if it was fun to do it, it was fun to do it. So you know, I see myself really developing my skills, climbing that ladder, but continuing to work on, you know, personal projects, and, you know, see where my curiosity takes me.
Cool. Well, Richard, I think your curiosity's gotten you pretty far. It's a great attribute to have. It's a pleasure catching up with you, and good to hear what you've been up to the last few years, and we'll have to do it again offline.
Definitely. We'll be in touch.
All right, Richard. Take good care. We'll talk to you soon.
It's real nice to talk to you.
All right.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.